everyone, it's Laquita. I wanted to come and share with you a couple of things. A few weeks ago, I showed you a page or two of a book that I was working on, a beaded embroidery book. Well, I have that all finished and I wanted to share that with you. And then also, I took my basket that I showed before. I took it apart and added some of the things that Ariane had gifted to me. And so I'll share that with you if you're interested. If you're not interested in seeing the basket again and you'd rather jump right ahead to the book, just fast forward until you see the book pop up. So let me get started and share the little basket with you and the things that I added to it. So also someone had mentioned to me that they would like to see it a little closer up. So I hope that the lighting is a little bit better, and I'll try my best to hold it up so that you can see it a little bit better. And as you can tell, the fabric is pretty colorful on this pattern that I chose. So it looks like it's busier than it really is. But, you know, I think when you hold it up and look at it, you can see that there's really not a lot of stitching on there. There's plenty. If I would have added more, I would be on top of my other stitching. So I think I put on as much as I could without it being too crowded. Starting with this side, the things that I added here, let's see. This little bouillon flower I put on, and I used the linen thread that Ariane gifted me for that. It's my first time working with a linen thread. It's a very nice thread. I'll have to order some more of those. And it's also a variegated thread. And then I had some silk fibers, something that I just recently got. And so I felted some silk fibers on there. And then on this side, I believe the only thing I added was the fibers here, and I added one of the silk cocoons there. So what I did for the silk cocoon, if you remember, she gifted me quite a few of those. So what I did was I took one of them and I just took my scissors and I just made little cuts all the way going around, and just make sure that the tips of your points there are pointed and not squared. So, you know, you just want to make your cuts angled so that they come out pointed. And so you end up with this design. I don't know what to call that. It kind of looks like a sun, or it could be a flower, but just use your imagination. and so anyway, that's what I put on that side. And then this side, I believe the only thing I added was the silk fibers. And again, like I said, that was something that was not gifted to me by Ariane. It's just something else that I recently got, and I thought it might be nice to add it on there. And then on this side, I added this piece right here, and that was from this trim, if you remember me showing you that. And I just took a small piece of it and layered it there, and then on top of it I added some of this fiber, and so that fiber goes through there and kind of turns around and loops around rather, and comes down there. And then I added some more silk fibers there, and then I added a bit of sari trim, which was this one. And then on top of it, I added more of this. So that's what I've done in that corner. And I believe, excuse me, I believe that is all that I added there. I think I missed this side. I did add that same fiber, this one, going around there. So that's all I added to the basket. And someone had mentioned that, you know, don't take it apart and just make another one. And it really wasn't difficult to take apart. It's the only thing that's holding the lining and the outside of the basket together is the stitching right around the top. And so I just took that stitching out, you know, from like here all the way around to maybe over there. Just left that side attached. And then I could get to the inside of the basket and add all these other things on there. So it was fairly easy to take apart, and then all I had to do was stitch it back on there. And there's that mulberry bark that's in there. I haven't quite figured out what to do with that yet, which was gifted to me by Ariane too. But anyway, that is the basket, and it's been updated a little bit, so to include some things that were gifted to me. So I'll just plop those things back in there for now. And then the needle book, someone asked me if I would do a tutorial on how I did this needle book. And I don't know if I will do a tutorial on this, but I'd be happy to explain to you how I put it together. So of course, as you can see, I started with the same fabric for the outside as I did on the basket. So you would cut your fabric to, you know, whatever length you want. You decide how big or how small you want your book to be. And then once you cut this piece, then you do all your embroidery work on that. And then once you're satisfied with all your work, then you're going to layer that piece with, I used some of this quilting fabric here. This was an old bedspread that I had that I wasn't using anymore, and I cut it apart, and most of it I made a bed skirt for my guest room bed, and then the scraps I kept and I used them for whatever, if I need them for crafting. And so I put some of this in between the outer layer and this inner layer, which is made out of flannel. But you could use a felt or, you know, whatever you want, but I just chose a flannel because it was something that I already had. And so you layer those three things together, and then I stitched this trim to the outside. I stitched it onto this fabric, and then you will fold it over and make sure your edge is folded so you'll have a nice clean edge, and then you hand sew that part down. And I hand sewed it all the way around. And then that's how I put the book together. So then as far as the labels, I typed them up on my computer and printed them on iron-on fabric. And then I just cut them out and ironed them on. So these can be peeled off, and you know, if I want to change the title and iron a new one back on there if I want. So these are not permanent. Those can be peeled off. So anyway, that's how I put that book together. Hopefully that helps you a little bit to understand how it was put together. So, okay, now I'm going to move on to the next thing I wanted to share with you, and that's my book that I did. And as I mentioned, I showed a couple of these pages in this book on an earlier video, and so I finally got it all put together, and the book is complete now. But I did stump work on the front of this book, and it's something that's new to me. I've never done stump work before. I was introduced to it. I'm not quite sure if it was a video that I saw on YouTube. I'm not quite sure if that was my first introduction or if I ran across the book. But I do have a book that has patterns in it, and this was one of the patterns in the book. But it is, if you're not familiar with stump work, which I wasn't either until I, like I said, either saw it on YouTube or saw the book, but it is embroidery work. It's raised embroidery work. So it can be raised in many different ways. You can do stitching on top of stitching, and that would raise it, or you can stitch on top of felt or some other type of a fabric that's thick, and you would stitch over it to give a raised effect. Or you can do it this way, which is like a wired stump work, and these are all freestanding. So the only part that's actually stitched onto the fabric are the stems, and the stems running down here. Everything else is raised. It's wired, raised stump work. So I did tack the leaves down. This leaf here is tacked right here at the bottom. It's also, this one is also tacked right over here, because they were just kind of, as you can see, this one is pretty free moving, and I didn't want it flopping all over the place, so I tacked it just a little bit right there. But most of everything else is just freestanding. There's nothing tacked down. The butterfly, this one, I did tack his wing to the leaf of that flower just so I could keep him in place. But this one is not tacked down, and this leaf, or this wing is not tacked down either. And so anyway, you just embroider the shapes onto your fabric with the wire that's running around the edge. So the wire is what's giving it, you bend it, and that's what's giving it its shape. And then the tails of your wire that you have left sticking out is what you use to attach your pieces to your fabric. You just poke a hole and poke the wires down in there, and then you sew the wires onto the fabric underneath the petals, so you can't see it underneath there. It's actually, the wires are between the fabric and the inside the layer of the book. So anyway, I know it's probably not making sense the way I'm explaining it, but the wires are hidden, so I'll just put it like that. And I think this bud, if I didn't say, the stem, I believe I used floral wire for the stem, and then it's wrapped with your embroidery thread. And the bud itself is made out of felt, and then you embroider on top of the felt. And so anyway, that completes my stump work cover, and then I finished it off with just a little bit of fringe at the bottom and a little bit of green and burgundy trim there. And I put this book together using Jean's method. Hi, Jean. I'll leave a link, if I can find it. I'll leave the link for Jean's video where she explains how to put together your spine with your cover and your back, and also attach your pages to your spine. And it was my first time putting together a book in that method, and it was pretty easy to do. So thank you, Jean. It was an easy way to do it, and she explained it very well. And as you can see, you can probably see my stitching marks going along there where I've stitched the cover to the spine, and then you do the same for the back. And I've left the back plain. It just has my name across the bottom there. But okay, so for the inside, okay, the first page, I call this one my rose page. I made the rose out of a silk ribbon, and then I did more silk ribbon work here with the green leaves and the little white buds, and they kind of cascade around the rose on top of that doily there. And then I'll hold it up a little closer so that you can just take a look at the bead work. I did the fly stitch in beads over there, and some little flowers, and there's some more embroidery work, like a cluster of grapes there, and then more ribbon work, more bead work, and more embroidery. So as I go through the pages, I'm not going to point out everything because it's pretty much the same type of work over and over on each page, just you know, just done in different colors or different shapes and things like that. So the next page, I have a Dorset button that I made there, and just more embroidery work. Now the butterfly is called gold work, And I was inspired to do this by, the lady's name is Sarah Humphreys. And I'll leave a link below to her video, if I can find it, the video for the butterfly. And the butterfly being done in gold work, part of this is metal. The little wires that you see right here, it's just tiny little coiled wires. And then this part going around here, the outer part of these two petals, is the same wire, but they're just cut in little bitty pieces and then they're individually put on to fill in that area. Then I filled, went around it with beads. His body's beaded, and in the center of his wings there are sequins, and the sequins are metal sequins. And there's also some of that wire that's going around in there too. But the sequins, I ordered those from Sarah because I could not find them here in the States anywhere. And so I got those put on. And then there's fibers. These are little metallic thread that's on there. So I'm gonna hold it up. Hopefully you can see it's raised. And so you put that on a strand at a time, and then you cut it all off and make it even so you get that little fuzzy texture on there. The butterfly took me a little while to do, but yeah, I think it turned out okay. It's not as pretty as Sarah's, but she is an excellent teacher, and I enjoyed watching her video on how to do that. So anyway, that's that page. So the next page, I don't really know what to call this page, so I'll just call it my sari page because it has a bit of sari fabric right here. This was gifted to me by Janine. Hi, Janine. It's a vintage piece, and I think I've used this on other projects too, but I have just a few pieces of it left over, and so I started with that, and then the page just kind of grew from there. So I'll just hold it up, and you can see that there's ribbon work and, of course, more bead and embroidery work going all around. And these two little puffy pieces here are made from felt, and then I've just beaded around them. This one actually has the chain stitch in beads going around it. Okay, so that's that page. The next page is my elephant page, and so again, bead and embroidery work. And the elephant was also inspired by Sarah. I didn't use the same elephant pattern that she used. I just found another pattern on Pinterest that I liked and used that to guide me. And I've added some beads across the bottom. And then from his cap, there are some more of those little gold fiber threads that I used on the butterfly over there. So that's that page. Okay, the next page, I call this one my Suffolk Puffs page, and I just have clustered different sizes of the puffs in the middle there, and then I've added one of those little puffy puffs that I like to do with the beads on it at the top of the page there. And then again, more bead work and embroidery work. Now this is not something that I made. These are just appliques that I've put on and beaded on them, and French knots in the center, and then a little bit of shell trim across the bottom there. Okay, and the next page is, I call my log cabin page, and again, just more bead and embroidery work there. I have a little tree in the bottom corner there. The log cabin was something that I made, and I didn't care for it after I made it, and I just kind of threw it in the drawer and forgot about it. And then when I was working on this page and trying to come up with something for my focal point, I came across the cabin and I said, okay, let's go with you. So it made the book. I'm not crazy about the little cabin, but anyway, that's what made that page. So we'll move on from there. Okay, the next page, again, this is more stump work, and the flowers are all raised work. Even the little buds are raised. There's felt underneath them. And then the dragonfly, his little wings are free. His tail is beaded and embroidery stitched, satin stitched on his body, and he's got beads for his head and his eyes, and then just more bead and embroidery work there. And then the last page, also I call it a dragonfly page because I have a metal charm there, and then I have dragonflies that are made from ribbon, silk ribbon that I worked there. And then I have another one of my little puffy puffs down there, beaded puffs, and then just more embroidery work and beadwork there and a few buttons. So that's my book. So hopefully you enjoyed seeing what I did. That's my intro to stump work, and I enjoyed working on this project a lot. It took me a while. I've been working on it for several months. That's one thing about embroidery work, is it's not a fast project. You know, it does take time. Even if you're doing something small, it does take some time to do it. So, but I do enjoy it. It is relaxing, and so thank you for watching, and thank you for your kind comments. YouTube used to notify me when I would get new subscribers, and I guess that's a feature that they took away. So if I have new subscribers, thank you so much for subscribing and supporting me, and I hope you enjoyed seeing what I shared with you today, and you all take care and stay safe out there. Bye.